Okay, I just put myself this hoodie, so I just destroyed my entire hair, but whatever. Okay, so I don't know if you can listen to me quite well, being honest, so I'm just going to be putting these on. Okay, you should be able to listen to me better now. What am I going to be speaking about? Okay, I'm going to be speaking about just Bellum. What is this? Just a Bellum is a set of legal principles that I don't want to speak too loud because it's already 10 p.m. here where I live. It's a set of legal principles that determine the justification, your legitimate reason, if you're a state, the state's legitimate reason for going to war, for taking part in an international armed conflict. Okay, so I haven't made points in this because I noticed that this needs to really be explained. So if I give you that explanation, that definition of jus ad bellum, you may be confused, being honest, because I was at the very beginning. When you just say like a set of legal principles, that's like the most complex part, because you're like, which set of legal principles? I mean, which provisions? Which laws would be the ones that would determine if I have a legitimate reason, justification to take role in this armed conflict, in X or Y conflict, in a war. So let's go over that. Okay, first of all, it is important. I mean, we would not even be able to speak about this if we did not mention the Article 51 of the UN Charter. Okay, yeah, that's like a must, because in a hierarchy thing, we would place the UN Charter here in regards of jus ad bellum. Below it, we could place customary international law, probably. Here we could place any relevant treaties, other relevant treaties that you can imagine for that. Of course, in this third position, it would depend on a case-by-case basis, if there are other relevant treaties or not. And maybe here, in a fourth position, we could add jurisprudence decisions from the International Court of Justice. Okay, so let's go with the first one. Okay, these are the things, these are the places or the sources where you're going to be looking at your set of legal provisions that are going to be giving you, as a state, a legitimate reason of why you're going to be taking part in this war. Okay, so I'm a state. Normally, usually, I would be a victim of an armed conflict. We need to define what an armed conflict is, but I'm going to be doing that later. So I'm a victim of an armed conflict. I'm state A. State B launched an attack on me. So what am I going to do? Okay, first of all, based on the principle of necessity, which I'm also going to be speaking about later, I need to act fast, definitely. Okay, so what am I going to do? I'm going to make use of my right of self-defense that's contained on the Article 51 of the UN Charter. It says that this charter shall not impair the inherent right, individual or collective, for self-defense. Well, because I don't know it by heart, but you have the right to self-defense, individual or collective self-defense, until the Security Council of the United Nations members, the Security Council of the United Nations, restores peace. Takes the necessary measures in order to restore peace. Of course, in order, I missed just a little part. You have the right for self-defense, individual or collective self-defense, if you suffer an armed conflict. I mean, if you were a target, an object of an armed conflict, you can exercise your right for self defense. So, let's imagine I'm state A and state B, which is, I don't know, going to be my earpods case, launched an arm attack over me. Okay, so let's make an example of an arm attack. Cross border invasion. I'm being invaded. I am suffering coordinated attacks with a significant level of destruction. I'm facing bombing campaigns. Those are good examples of armed attacks, since armed attacks are the most grave forms of the use of force. But that was stated by the International Court of Justice. So, I'm facing an armed attack. Of course, I have to defend myself like immediately. I don't have time. I mean, if it, when you want to exercise your right of self-defense, you have to take into consideration two principles: necessity and proportionality. The principle of necessity would say like you would have to have you would have to have exhausted the diplomacy route, you know. If there is no way to fix things peacefully through diplomacy, then you would have to act fast. Okay, that's important. When you want to exercise your self defense right, respecting and taking into consideration the necessity principle, you should be acting fast. I'm being invaded now, not tomorrow. Not tomorrow. So I need to go and defend my city, I don't know, Liverpool, let's say. I'm going to be defending Liverpool, my city, Liverpool, because it's under attack now. Okay, it's not like, okay, I faced bumping all over Liverpool last week or a month ago, you know. So and even now, let's say, even now, the Security Council of the United Nations hasn't done nothing, has not taken any measures to restore peace. So, and let's say that I have not suffered of any other armed attack since the one of last month. Okay, it has happened 1 month since Liverpool was destroyed. I didn't do nothing. But now I'm going to retaliate. Within this month, I was able to put together a plan to destroy 3 cities of, let's say that okay, so I'm England, I'm the UK, and I was attacked by Honduras. By Honduras, okay. So I just put up a plan to destroy 3 important cities in Honduras. They destroyed Liverpool, just one, but I am going to destroy 3 cities of them. In this moment, I am not taking into consideration, I am not respecting two very important principles when it comes to exercising your right of self defense, which are necessity and proportionality. In the necessity, I really need to read this, it says that the response must be immediate. A delayed or retaliatory use of force does not satisfy the principle of necessity. I don't know that by heart, being honest, so I just had to read it. So you need to act immediately, you know, in order to consider that you exercise your self-defense right correctly according to international law. Now, proportionality. Well, I think it's obvious that if Honduras destroyed Liverpool, just one city, just one of my cities, in even after a month. Well, let's say that it was not even after a month. Let's say that at the very moment that Honduras bombarded or bombed Liverpool, I said, "Oh, okay, okay, you bombed Liverpool. Okay, no worries." Boom, nuclear bomb. Like, just to give you an example, I mean, of course, a nuclear bomb is definitely way worse than destroying interstates because a nuclear bomb could probably it would probably um, be almost extension for Honduras. It would be like total destruction. But you understand me. It wouldn't be proportional. You need to act proportional to the attack that you are receiving. Proportionality, as almost anyone in class should know, it's one of the two cardinal principles in international law. Well, when it comes to law of international armed conflicts. So you really want to take that into account. I'm also just going to read this part because it's a little bit important. So the force used in self-defense must be proportional to the armed attack it seeks to repel. This means that the scale and intensity of the response cannot exceed what is reasonably needed to neutralize the attack. Okay? So, disproportionate use of force could escalate the conflict and violate international law. Just what we were saying. Okay, so we already spoke about that. Great. So, okay, we already spoke about how to exercise your right of self-defense, respecting the principles of proportionality and necessity. I mean, you need to act fast. First, necessity. Take a look, see if there's the possibility of a peaceful resolution, mechanisms to solve conflicts in a peaceful way through diplomacy. If there's no possibility for diplomacy to occur, act immediately, repel the attack, defend yourself immediately. Not in a week, not in a month. That's not going to be respected or taken into consideration the necessity principle. And proportionality, which is self-explanatory just by listening to it. You need to use a reasonable amount of force to repel, to defend yourself, take into consideration the scale, gravity, like the force that the armed attack that you are being victim of brings with, has, that basically. Those two things. Okay, so just going back, we were speaking about the set of legal norms. Okay, so jus ad bellum is a set of legal norms that determines the, my God, can't believe I forgot the word. Justification. I always forget about the word justification, and then I just change it for legitimate reason. It's basically the same. No, actually, legitimate reasons even sounds better, but whatever. A set of legal principles that determines the justification, legitimate reason of why you're going into war, of why state A is going into war with state B. As we mentioned earlier, Article 51 of the UN Charter contains the self-defense. Right? That would be like our first thing that we would put. Let's say that our set of legal principles are provisions that determines that justification are like, no, does not, are like a glass, just a glass. So the UN Charter Article 51 would be just a little pouring a little bit of water into the glass. Okay, so now your set of legal principles, your set of provisions, it's a little bit full. You would like it to be completely full. You would like to look upon over all the sources of of law that you can review, or that you could use in order to um, use as grounds, to base your legitimate reason upon or above those grounds. Um, so okay, you just pour a little bit of water. You have Article 51 of the UN Charter. What else could be helpful for me as a set of legal principles, provisions to determine that I am justified to take role into this international armed conflict on the basis of self-defense? Okay, but see, as we spoke earlier, there's a hierarchy. We just checked the UN Charter, customary international law. I mean, customary international law, as far as I know, because I'm not 100% sure, uh, does takes into consideration self-defense when you are the victim of an armed attack. So we could say it would be maybe like the same, like self-defense, right? If you're the target of an armed attack, so maybe it would be the same, as far as I know. Let's go to the third one. Any other relevant treaties? Let's say that I am state A. Okay, yeah, I was the target of an armed attack launched by state B. But let's say that there is a state C. Okay, so state C happens to be a NATO member, and let's say that I am a NATO member too. Okay, so this would be just pouring a little bit of more water into a glass. So state A, me, and state C, my friend, both of us are NATO members. State B is not. State B was the one who launched the attack on me. So state C would have a jus ad bellum based on what? Based on the Article 51 of the UN Charter, and on the Article 5 on the collective defense clause of the North Atlantic Treaty, which basically states that if one NATO member is attacked, all NATO members are going to be protecting that state. Okay, so state C came into the fight as well, joined the war on my side against state B, because under Article 51 of the UN Charter, it allows a collective self-defense, and under Article 5 of, in the hierarchy, other relative treaties, a North Atlantic Treaty, Article 5, collective defense clause, if a NATO member is attacked, all the other members are going to be protecting this member who was attacked. So state C has jus ad bellum, has a legitimate reason. I mean, I do, and he also does. Just to like give you an example of other relevant treaties. It has a legitimate reason, and we already have like 2-3 pours of water, like we have poured water 3 times into this glass. Let's imagine there's water there. So the glass is almost full. So our set of legal norms, which was represented by this glass, it's almost full. So we are going in the direction where we are close to have a very strong legitimate reason, which has a strong base, strong grounds of why I am taking part of this international armed conflict. Um, in the hierarchy that we were speaking about, in the fourth position, when we mentioned earlier the jurisprudence and the International Court of Justice decision, we can say that. Just a second. Okay. We can say that, for example, the Nicaragua case of 1986, the International Court of Justice mentioned there that not all acts of use of force would be considered unarmed attack, but unarmed attack needs to be, or armed attacks are the most grave forms of the use of force. I provided you with some examples: cross-border invasion, bombing campaigns, coordinated attacks. I don't know, imagine something very bad, like nuclear weapons. um, uh, Massive killing. I mean, just the definition gives you like a very self-explanatory thing. The most grave forms of the use of force. So think of a lot of people, a lot of deaths. I mean, any attack that would have a significant level of destruction, killings, would probably count. So yeah. Oh my god, where was I? Let me just check here in my points. Okay, so I was speaking about this. So yeah, yes, exactly, yes. The fourth position, we were looking at finally, the last piece that we were missing in order to have our complete set of legal principles, provisions to fill out our glass of water with jurisprudence from the International Court of Justice, looking at the Nicaragua case of 1986. So yes, the court did establish that armed conflicts need to meet a threshold. They need to get to that required threshold in order to be considered armed conflict. So, as I mentioned earlier, uh, Liverpool was destroyed. We faced a bombing campaign. Honduras bombed Liverpool. Liverpool does not exist anymore. That is an armed attack, definitely. That would be considered an armed attack. So now we have four things that we compile together and now are part of our set of legal principles, legal provisions that will be working or helping us as our grounds in which we're going to be basing our legitimate reason of why we're going to be taking part into the international armed conflict. And more or less, that is just at Bellum. I don't know, that was all. um, have a good night. I'm going to keep on studying.